Hey there, Happy New Year. This is Valerie McDowell, your writer, editor, author, book coach, and consulting, welcoming you to another year of Write It Out Wednesday. This is the day where we put you at the top of your writing list. We know lots of things could have happened between now and last year. I mean, it's only been 5 days, right? But actually, what has happened in the last 5 days? I'm on the East Coast, and we had snow Monday, about 8 inches. I'm like, what? And then a little further down the road, south on I-95, there was this humongous backup in which people were in their cars from 12 to almost 30 some hours before they can get out because of the snow. The roads weren't treated, jackknife 18-wheelers and all kinds of mayhem until they were finally free. And then today's my mom's birthday, so shout out to my mom. Shout out to my goddaughter Zion. Shout out to Tina Olivo. Shout out to Fonda's mom and all kinds of people whose birthday happens to be today. So happy birthday to all the beautiful people born on January 5th in their respective years. My mom is a good, cute 25, and so that's just marvelous. And so today, because so much has happened, it's like what also happened today, at least in my neck of the woods, was I did some writing. I edited a project, I wrote some emails, I worked on another document, I started working on a publication. So in all of that, the common denominator is writing. So I've done some writing today. And that's the big deal that we're going to be talking about, because writing is a part of my everyday life, but that's the way that you get better, because the way to become a better writer is to continue to write. So shout out to all of you who are joining me. It is our first Write It Out Wednesday of the year. Welcome to another year of Write It Out Wednesday. We're going into our 4th year here. So woohoo, we've been doing this for a while. And we're tonight talking about how to be a great writer. I was just sharing some of the things that's already happened this year, from snow to roadblocks and all kinds of other things, and birthdays today. But tonight our topic is how to become a great writer. And now some people are born with natural talent, and these people, hey, be sweets. And in order to become good at this craft, you have to write many things. Like I've been writing since I was a child. I've written articles and resumes and projects and reports and grants and all kinds of things. But I've also written plays and scripts and working on a film play or a screenplay right now. So continuing to write, as well as writing books and editing books. So writing is a craft that you can always develop, sort of like Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. You are a writer, but you're always becoming a better writer. And so we're going to give you, on this 5th day of January, we're going to give you 5 ways for you to become a greater writer in 2022. That's 5 ways on today, January 5th, for you to become a great writer this year. Now, the first one, lots of people don't like this one, but it's the only way for it to happen, is that we have to set a deadline. Okay, we have to set a deadline. And why? Because it'll never get done otherwise. It's like between what you're working on, what your editor or the person that's helping you get to your book, all the things that need to happen, because books have many parts to them. So whether it's your bio, it's your testimonials, it's the actual subject matter, your manuscript, the content of your book. It could be, what's on the back, So it's so many different parts. But the main thing is, if you don't do this or this, nothing happens. So in order to become a great writer, one of the first things you have to do is set a deadline. When you work with the traditional publishing, they always set a date first. We're going to finish this book, and they put a date, September 21, 2023. And you're like, oh, and you have to write towards that. And if there's a delay, then that may affect some money or some other things. So it's like there needs to be a deadline. Many of my clients have written a book in 3 months, some in 6 months, some a year. But the thing is, without deadlines, particularly because you're working with other people. And once one thing gets thrown off, then that throws off other things. And then everybody's schedules is a little wacky for a minute until you can kind of settle things back down, particularly when it comes to changing things or editing things or wanting things a different way. So setting a deadline is key, at least so that you are as near to that perfect date that you've set as possible and not too far off, because like I said, there are multiple things that need to be done. All right. So we got to set a deadline. That's number 1. Number 2, Number two is get good at storytelling. All right, we're just coming off holidays and people love stories. Okay. People love stories. It's like, now I know how many times have somebody started a story, or like they did some funny memes or little things on TikTok, I think, where they had a child starting a story. And sometimes, our kids, when they're little, at least, and their language is still developing, it may take them a while to finally get that story. Like, what happened at school today? And it might take a half an hour. They're like, whoo, that's a lot of listening. But the thing is, they're learning. They're learning how to tell a story. Because many of you, part of being a comedian, for instance, is they're great storytellers. Like, how many people have listened to the Kevin Hart stories? Like, it'd be a whole long thing. Like, he gives all kinds of intro and setting and lots of really great skills for writing a book. He does it on the comedy circuit because it's like you have to be able to get in front of all these people and keep their attention, which is what storytelling does. It's like, what story can I tell? He told stories about his children, about his career, about his parents, about his brother, all kinds of stories. And so even talk shows, like that's what it's about. They bring you on there to tell a story. Like, what are you working on? What did you do? Where did we see you? Something like that. But it's always about story because people resonate with the story. And the thing is, it's a great skill to learn when you become a storyteller, because often, you can get lost in the story. It's like if someone's telling you a story, but then they mess up and then the whole punchline is off and you're like, what? We don't want people doing that with your book. It's like, so when you're writing your book, it's like you want to be able to make sure from top to bottom and even in the middle that you're telling a clear story, like they get it. Like, be sweet. Happy New Year to you, my dear. You are a great storyteller. Like, I still see snaggletooth, cigarettes hanging out of lips, all kinds of things, because you are a great storyteller. You know how to put the details in. Okay, so that's part of it. You have to put the details. You got to put setting. You got to talk about a long corridor or feelings, trepidation as you walk down, or something that puts me in the scene. And that's where great storytelling works, because you have to put that reader in the scene. Let me see myself on the horse, in the room, scared. That's why scary movie works. Because it's like, you're like, run. You go to the movies and you're watching a horror movie. The audience is in the movie with you because they're like, run, crazy lady, run. But that's what you want your story to do too. You want to evoke emotion. You want to get people involved. You want to do all the things that make that person's like, I can't put this book down. I can't put this book down. Okay. So that's what you want to do. You want to bring that reader into your story. So you developing great storytelling skills. And if you're a great storyteller, if people be like, child, is so-and-so gonna be there? You better take a seat because she got some stories, It's because they know they're going to be funny or ridiculous or crazy or sad or something, but it's going to evoke emotion out of you. So being a great storyteller helps you to become a great writer, because they're looking for those nuggets, those things that hold true for them or that they read about. I think in my first book I wrote, it was called Oh Boy, and it was stories from the world of boys for mothers. And my former spouse, he got a hanger stuck underneath his tongue. Okay. And I told that story where he's sitting on his mother's lap in the emergency room with a hanger looking like a big giant half of a bow tie hanging out from underneath his tongue. And it's just like, and he's feeling like he's this giant kid sitting on her lap and they're at the circus because of what he looks like. And when he told me that story, I was like, what? And it's like, you want people to be like incredulous, like shocked, or, tell the story or make them laugh. Brenda, thinking about another, or Be Sweet, thinking about another one of your great day in the morning and blah, 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 blah. It was some things that you said. And Jenny, good to see you. Happy New Year, my dear. It's like, you're a great storyteller. You're a scary storyteller. You're a very visual and happy storyteller on one hand, and then you're a scary, creepy, I need to burn sage storytelling on the other side. So it's like, bravo, ladies, you are doing it. And I'm expecting to see even more in 2022. But Jenny, we're talking tonight about how to be a great how to be a great writer, rather. And we've done 2 points so far. The first one was how to set a deadline. You got to set a deadline in order to be a great writer because you got to finish. And then you got to get good at storytelling, right? You got to get good at storytelling. Now, the third thing is to observe, okay? Observe. You have to be a great observer of people, of life, of situations, nature, what's going on the highway. Like if you are a watcher, you see lots of things. Like some people are totally oblivious to what's going on around them. They don't hear anything. They got headphones in, sunglasses. Like they don't want to see anything but what's ever going on with them. But if you are a great writer, you're going to observe things. You're going to see, you're going to notice the slightest little thing, and particularly if you got any kind of ADHD or obsessive compulsive, it's like, if somebody move your keys, like who been in my house? If a cup, some people are to the point where they need cans and dishes and plates and in certain order. Like don't put my big cans with the little cans. Don't put this tall condiment with the small one. Like it's like if you're an observer, then you're going to notice those kinds of things. You're going to notice what people wear. That's why at times when they do these tests and they ask people, they'll put them in a scenario at a bus stop and they'll have somebody run right real fast and they'll say, tell us what you saw. People come up with all kinds of things, many of which is wrong, because it's whatever's going on in their imagination. A lot of times it's whatever biases, and we all have them, that they may have about a situation. But being observant helps you track down something, so investigators and FBI, many of you watch those stories where it's like the littlest clue, it's not just a fingerprint or something, but it's just like, hey, if they said they shot him at this angle, but their body was turned this way. So it's like being able to observe things helps you to be a great storyteller. Because the thing about it is, it's like, I know my cousin, she had me cracking up. She was in like a Family Dollar, one of those stores. And the woman, like she was minding her business, masked up 6 feet away, but the thing about it is the woman was talking so loud on her phone with whoever that my cousin said, I'm invested in your conversation now. I need to know the end of it. So the woman was talking and it was her turn to go on a different line. And she told the person behind her, no, you go over there. I need to hear the rest of this story. Because the woman was telling a great story. And she was just like, now I'm all in. I don't know you. I don't know these people. But it's like, I want to find out what's happening. And the thing about it is, if the lady wasn't talking so loud, she would have had nothing to do with her story. But now I need to find out what happened, and I don't know if you would be one of those people like, hey, by the way, whatever happened? Like if they notice you listening you all in line, but your neck is all stretched out, it's just like, okay, that's a great story, or you got an uncle, I have an uncle and I remember he drove us around. We were looking for my brother who lived in the complex and he started just asking people, say, have you seen this real ugly dude? It's like, talking about my brother. But he's a storyteller. He's a character. He's got 50 million stories. And it's just like, it makes people want to be around him. It makes you listen. And so the thing about it is, the more you get good at storytelling and observing and setting deadlines, the better a writer you become. But that observation thing is key. It's like, what were they wearing? What was their hair like? Like when you're describing, like if your grandmother can cook, there was a woman actually was on TikTok or something. And she was trying to not tell her daughter how to cook Thanksgiving dinner or whatever it was. But she was like, she's watching her daughter and she's like, okay, put your elbow like at a 30-degree angle. And when you stir, like you got to get in it, like not real, like you got to stir. And the thing was hilarious because it's just like she couldn't help herself. She couldn't observe her daughter lightly stirring, whatever she was making without that 30-degree angle and the good stir, with the right mix. And, and I know many of you have seen that, but it's like this woman is a great storyteller. She's funny and she gives you real life examples. And that's the other part. Put the person in the scene. So along with the dialogue, along with the words, add the scene. Was it at night? Was it cold? People in Chicago this time, people in Boston. It was like when my girlfriend was in medical school and working in Boston, I'm like, I will come see you in August. It's the only month it's warm. It's like, I can't come any other time. I told you about the thing on 95. It's like people 20 for 36 hours in a car because of the snow. Like, no, that's out. So the thing is, it's like, observe nature. There's a story all around you. And if it relates to what you're trying to say, then you need to jot that thing down. Record it in your phone, write it on a note. But a lot of things are all around you that could be really well worth it in your story, okay? Now, the opposite of observing is getting quiet. Okay, or I'll just say another parallel of that is getting quiet, because sometimes we need to hear our own thoughts, okay? Life can be very loud and busy all around you. And if you never are in a place where it's quiet, then sometimes you can't hear. Like, some of the answers to your questions, to your dilemmas are inside of you, but you never get quiet or still enough to hear it. For some people, water is a stillness, is a release for them. It's a way for them to be calm. Or some of those sounds, you can hear, like, people sometimes can't go to sleep without hearing some kind of white noise, they call it. But whatever it is you need to calm yourself, to be at peace, for some people it's dark. I need it quiet, like nobody say anything. And depending on your household setup, whether there are people in it or not, whether you have a room you can go to or not. And I know while we continue in this pandemic, it's like, real estate space in your house is very pricey, depending on how many people. Like, you may live alone or you may have 10 people in your house. Do you have a quiet place you can go? For many mothers back in the day was the bathroom, and it'd be like 8 kids outside. Mommy, you okay? You coming out? What you doing? It's like, that's the life of a mother, especially with young kids. But it's like, that might be the only place she can go alone because it might have a lock on the door and the other ones don't. But the thing is, where can you get quiet? Where can you go and listen to the thoughts? Where can you go and process? Because sometimes we go, and we don't know how to just be, particularly being still. So sometimes, like I said, those answers, those things that we need are inside of us. So we need to learn how to be still so we can find out, what we need to say, what we need to write, what the answer to that dilemma is. Because, I know that if I get a little frustrated or anxious about something, I have to be like, all right, there's a solution to every problem. Let's get quiet. Let's think about it. What can we do? What are the answers to something? Because, like, I was had a project that I need to do, and all of a sudden the price jumped like $3,000. It's like, who else can do this? There's a solution to every problem. Not gonna get mad at them. It might be, who knows? But the thing is, it's like, we have to sometimes get quiet to find the answer to the thing we need to do. And in our writing, sometimes, instead of saying out of our mouth, because I've shared that with a couple people this week, instead of, voicing what you don't want to happen into your life, you need to speak and voice what you do want to happen. So rather than saying, I'm stuck, I got writer's block, I got this, to say, I'm looking for some new words and I expect them to come to me. I'm expecting the answer to this paragraph, to this chapter, to come to me, so that you're not frustrated and end up not doing anything, and then your work doesn't get written and you don't become a better writer because you're not doing anything. But we're going to eliminate that, right? So getting quiet sometimes to allow the answers to come is a great way to become a writer, because a lot of what you need is already inside of you, okay? And number five, I said on this 5th day of January, it's going to give you 5 points. So something else that I encounter a lot with my clients is trauma and pain and dilemmas and things that have happened, particularly in childhood. And it's like, and sometimes you have to feel the pain. We often don't want to write about it. We don't know how to write about it. We're scared to write about it. We're scared to even get near it or touch it. We go all around Robin Hood's barn trying not to say that thing. But at the end of the day, if we don't say it, it's not going to help us. And it's definitely not going to help your reader, because sometimes we have to feel that pain and kind of process those emotions, because it could be that you never process them. That's why it's so painful, because it's right, it's like a scab. It's right there on the surface and you don't even want to get near someone. It's like if you stub your toe and it's just like, don't walk near me. You walk all the way around that way. Don't come near, so that pain, that experience, that relationship or situationship, as they've been called lately, some of those things might be too painful, too close to the surface, too near, your heart and your feelings, that you don't want anything to do with it. But I promise you, I promise you, my therapist promises you that if you go into that, if you feel that, if you allow yourself to feel the emotion and even express it, like, how did that make you feel? Did it make you feel angry? Because you have a right to feel these things, but it's like, but what can you do with it? Because we're not advocating, I'm going to get them. No revenge here, okay? Vengeance is mine, said the Lord. So it's like, you don't have to, go out to do something, but what can you do for you to make you feel better? Is it forgiveness? Is it letting it go? Is it writing out how you feel? And, there are exercises in which you write the letter to the person that you need to forgive or need to let go or need to, say whatever you need to do and burn it, throw it away, or do whatever you need to do with it. But you need to experience that pain, that pressure, that, whatever, in a safe space, in a place where you can have that emotion or even write out the emotion so that someone else can heal from it too. And often it's still hard, it's still raw if you're not on the other side of it. So that's why sometimes you don't want to touch it, because you're not quite healed yourself. So I do encourage you, if you got to pray, meditate, whatever you need to do, to get to the other side of that's a way to do it, And the thing about it is, I was sharing about comedians, many of them have shared their pain, but we end up laughing through it. It was like, now when they were living through it, it wasn't funny, but now they understand that I got some crazy stuff in my family, and people are like, and I got some crazy stuff in mine, or I have some horrific or tragic or very sad or, different things. But it's like, how do you share that story? And the thing about it is, because no matter how many times you read a book, watch a movie or something, that emotion will still be there. So if you write it and you write it honestly and you write it authentically, every time somebody reads your book, they're going to cry. It's like, how many times have you seen The Color Purple or Waiting to Exhale or any of those movies like by Terry McMillan? Or like, I know there's a movie, Philadelphia, with Tom Hanks. I don't care. That end scene where they're playing that opera music, it's like, Color Purple, when they're at the end and they're clapping and they're running through the field, it's like, or when Suge is running with the knife and it's the music, the intensity of all of that stuff, you feel it every time. You could watch it every time it comes on, in the same way, like my son's got two favorite movies. One was The Christmas Story that came on back to back 24 hours on Christmas Day, with Ralphie and the pink suit and the bunny and sticking your tongue on the pole. It's always funny. He also likes all the Friday movies. So there are three of them. So Craig and Day Day and Cousin, it's like you're always going to laugh. Every time Smokey gets hit, Big Perm or Big Worm with the perm. I mean, it's always funny. It's always sad. It always makes you cry no matter what it is. The same with books. Like I got the book, I think I've shared, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, when I was about 9 or 10 years old, one of those book clubs in school. Every time I read that book, I still cry. 40 some years later, even if I were to see the movie, I think there's a black and white version. And even like The Thornbirds, which was one of those books I bought years ago. It's on my shelf. I could read it, or I know why the Cageburg scenes, Maya Angelou, I will still cry or laugh or be like, what? In these books, because they shared their honest emotion. They were authentic to their characters. They gave you setting. They gave you all the things that you needed to experience that. Like Brenda, another thing I'm thinking, and say, sorry, be sweet. But I always see, like every time I go in a building that has an intercom and a buzzer, I'm almost counting how long it takes the person to respond because of what you wrote. It's like, I'm like, are they coming to the door? Are they watching me from a camera somewhere? It's like, it makes you really think about what is going on, when you're writing that, because it's like I remember being in a dorm at Georgetown University where I went, and then where they had, when you come into the building, you have to sign in, and there's a student that's working that job, but you have to sign in, show your ID, then they let you in the building. And I remember going to a different school where there were students working there, But it was just like everybody was just coming in. Nobody was showing ID or nothing. So that reminded me of your story about when you went to your building. You're like, it wasn't no pen. It wasn't that. It was some stains, versus your dad's building where it was very orderly and everything. So it's like you bring people into the scene when you honestly observe, okay, which was number 3. When you get quiet, when you think about these things, when you look around, and when you even feel it, like how you felt when he came or did not come to the door, or when you were in the apartment, or different things like that. It's like you're bringing the people into the story, and you all can tell that because of what you wrote, I remember it. Now things that aren't written well, things that you are not connected to, things you can't place yourself in, you don't remember. You hear people all the time, I don't remember that. It wasn't a good story. It wasn't a good setting. They didn't observe something. Like something didn't happen for them, for that story, that memory to stay with them. And as a writer, you are getting fed all of this information, all the stimuli all the time. You have to be conscious enough to observe it, to feel it, to understand, to know that my story is everywhere. Like my life is a story. All right. So all of those things will help you to become a great writer. And I have just one more point, because with all of those 5 things, and let me see where they are. So number 1, set a deadline. Number 2, get good at storytelling. Okay. Practice on your friends. Tell a story. See if anybody laughs, cries, or does whatever. Okay. Number 3, observe. Number 4, get quiet. And number 5, feel the pain. And here's a bonus for you, because it's a new month, it's a new year, and because I like you like that. Here's a bonus. Your writing leaves an impact, okay? Your writing will leave an impact. When you become a great writer, as you're becoming a great writer, when you write, you leave an impact, okay? You can leave an impact. So make sure that you think about that. It's just like when I put pen to paper, when I put fingers to keyboard, it's like you have an opportunity to leave an impact, and it's an amazing opportunity. Okay. It's like, it's one of the few things you have in connection with the creator that you take nothing. Like the words on the page don't exist until you type up something. Okay. It doesn't exist until it comes out of here, and, and onto the page. Okay. So you are a creator, you are a writer, and you are a great writer, and you can always become even better. So that's what I have for you today. It's like, thank you for joining me here on Write It Out Wednesdays, where we come and put you back at the top of your writing list. I am Valerie McDowell, your writer, editor, author, book coach, and consultant. I work with writing and time challenge clients, helping them get their stories told and their books published. We have lots of great things for you in 2022, and I'll see you soon. All right. Good night.